there. Welcome back to the Pretty Collection Knitting Podcast. This is episode 3. It is Monday, December the 11th already. Wow, where's the time gone? I'm having a cup of tea in my David's tea mug. You see the sheeps there? And there's a little sheep on the back. And I'm just drinking some immune building tea, which is, I think, appropriate this time of year with winter and all the colds and flus going around. You can't build your immune system up enough at this point. Nobody wants to get sick, at least I don't. So anyways, I'm just going to sip on this while I do this podcast. I hope you will get yourself some tea as well, or coffee, or choice of beverage, and grab your knitting and or whatever you're making and sit and visit with me this morning. So I was supposed to podcast last Friday, and unfortunately I wasn't feeling up to it. I was a little tired and burnt out from doing all the things, and I just didn't want to put that feeling out there. So anyways, I thought, I'll just wait till I'm feeling better and ready to do it, and today's the day. So anyways, I'm a week behind, but that's okay. Life gets in the way and things happen, but we'll make up for it. So I'm going to do it today. And now I wanted to do 2 podcasts a month. That was my goal. And anyways, I'm a bit off track, so that means I won't do my second one for December. Just for December, because it is really busy right now with classes and parties and family and getting ready for the holiday season. And there's just, shopping, all the things. You know what I'm talking about. So we'll just skip that one. So today is the one I'm doing, and I will resume again in January, the new year, back to 2 podcasts a month, hopefully. Down the line, it might go to once a month, but right now I would like to do 2 a month if I can. So there's so much to talk about, and I might not get it all done in my lifetime if I don't do 2 a month. So anyways, that's my plan. So anyways, I don't even know if I've said all the things yet, where you can find me. Anyways, you can find me on Ravelry, and you can find all my patterns there as well, and on Facebook, and on my website, and Instagram. So everything will be in the show notes below, in the description box. So if you just hit the little arrow, and it will take you to all the hyperlinks for those things. And you'll also see them again at the end of this YouTube video, and you'll see them there as well. So today's topic is about tools of the trade. And these are things that you can put on your Christmas wish list and hopefully get some nice gifts from whoever, or buy them for yourself. But before we start that, I just want to do a few admin things to finish up from last podcast. So every podcast I said that I would do a free draw for one of my patterns, and we'd have some Q&A, and so I would like to clean that up and do that first before we start fresh today. So the winner from last podcast is Sandra Shearer, and the way it's put on for the comments is at Sandra Shearer -PN4QR. So I'm going to put a photo up here of the comment and her name, and she liked the Mariposa mitten pattern, so you will get a copy of that pattern. Sandra, all you have to do is send me an email and I will send it right out to you. Okay? So we had a question from a viewer, and I don't know why I say we all the time. I guess, I don't know, it's just a form of speech that I use a lot, and I need to stop doing that. Anyways, I had a question from a viewer, and her question was, how do you do I-cord? So I thought I would do a bit of a demonstration here this morning and talk a bit about I-cord and just show you some items that I have here and demonstrate it for real so that you can do this on your own, and it's the greatest thing. So I don't know if you remember, some of you might remember, let me show you this. Corking. Okay, so back in the day when I was in grade 4, we did corking, and it was so much fun, and we didn't have all the fancy things they have today for doing corking. Basically, we grabbed an old wooden spool, because that's the way thread came on those days, and we just hammered 4 nails into the top of it, and we just used a sharp nail to do the corking with. And I'm just going to show you here now. We actually have corking kits in the shop for sale, and in the kit you get the instructions on how to do it. Okay, it's called spool knitting. They call it spool knitting now. You get some yarn in your kit, but you also get this beautiful handmade spool. My husband makes these spools, and they're all done on a lathe, so they're nice to hold on to for your hands. They have sort of concaved there a bit, so you can really grip onto it and it feels nice in the hands. And you can see that there is 4 prongs, 4 prongs on the top like that, with a hole drilled right through to the other side, and you can see on this end the hole. So this is the corker, I call a corker, and this is the wooden tool. It sort of looks like a knitting needle on one end, but it's just flat on the other end. So this is the tool that you use to do the corking with, and I have one here already started. So here's the corking that started on the top. As you can see, it looks like a little spider web actually, and then you'll see the corking coming out the other end. So this is how long it is already. Okay, so I'm not going to demonstrate this here so much as I am going to demonstrate how to do it for a knitter. So if you're interested in this demonstration and want to learn how to do corking, just leave it in the comments below if you'd like a demonstration on this, and maybe I'll do a tutorial for this at some point. But this is a great thing for kids to do. You know, ages 5 and up can do this, and anybody can do it. Elderly can do it. It's fun, actually. This is a great way to use up all your scraps on, because you can change colors at any time with your scraps, because you just tie the 2 ends together, not the 2 ends together of the color change, and they actually just go down inside the tube, so there's no weaving in of ends or anything. It's all safe and secure inside the tube, and away you go with another color, and you can change colors and it's so much fun, and you can make so much with I-cord. There's so many ideas. If you look on Pinterest, you can see all kinds of ideas there that you can make with I-cord when you're finished with it. Okay, so I am going to leave that. That's something we did in grade 4, and it was a lot of fun. I'm going to leave that down there for now, but I'm also going to show you something here that you can purchase through Clover. Well, purchase through me, I guess. And it is a Clover product. You can probably find them anywhere, but if you're interested in something like this, this is a manual corker that you can just get started and crank the little handle, and out comes the I-cord. I have a couple of different ones like this, but anyways, you can see there that it's a whole kit and caboodle, and you just crank it and out comes the I-cord, and it shows here little figures that you can make, and on the back are all the instructions. So if you're interested in something like that, let me know. Okay, so in order to do I-cord with knitting needles, you can do it with crocheting too. I mostly knit the I-cord, so I'm going to show you how to do it with the knitting. Okay, so basically you need your yarn, and you need some double pointed needles, 2 double pointed needles. So I've just double at both ends points, and you're going to just cast on with your yarn 4 stitches, and I just use the long tail cast on when I do it. So I just cast it on 4 stitches there, as you can see. And then to do the I-cord, you have to slide the stitches down to the other end of the needle. I know it looks odd because the yarn is coming off the left side and you're knitting at this end. So you're just going to knit your stitches, knit the 4 stitches, okay? And when you're done knitting those 4 stitches, all you're going to do is slide those stitches back to the other end. And you keep doing this, and as you do this, you will form a tube. The reason why the yarn is coming off the back end is because it's pulling it tight into a circle, into a tube. So there you can see it forming already with just a couple of rows. So it's cast them on, slide, knit, slide, knit, slide. And that's all you do, and it will form a tube. Okay? So that's how you do I-cord. Okay, next we're going to talk about what I'm wearing. Today I'm wearing a pattern I designed called My Sweater, and it's a round neck, as you can see. It's got the round neck here, or crew neck, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, this is my microphone. So I have the round neck. There's German short rows done in the back to raise the back of the neck up. There is a 2x2 button bands, 2x2 rib button bands. There is the 2x2 ribbed sleeves. And there's also 2x2 ribbed hem on here. Now, the yarn that I used, and I have talked about this on, I don't know if it was the last podcast, the first or second podcast, so you can check back there if you like. But it was done with the Hayfield Bonus Aran Tweed yarn, And this is the label there. Okay, it was a 400-gram ball, and there was 840 meters, 920 yards. It's 74% acrylic, 20% wool, 6% viscose. I used a 5mm needle. It's machine washable and dryable, and I did it in the color herringbone. Okay, so you can check that pattern out on Ravelry. It is now published there, and it's a really nice pattern. It goes, has all the sizes there from 32 to 50, I believe. There is positive ease, so it would be bigger than that when you're finished. And it's easily modified. You can modify it to make bigger sizes. Basically, raglan seams. Raglan sweaters are just, you can increase more in the raglan seams if you want bigger sizes. So you can basically make one for anybody, really. And the same with smaller sizes as well. So anyways, that's what I'm wearing today. Sorry, I'm just grabbing some other things here. I have. There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is on the mannequin here. So this is the elephant in the room, and you're probably wondering what this is all about. And so last podcast I was showing you this sweater, and it was almost finished. I was just starting the button bands. I just had picked up all the stitches around the button bands and collar and down and around, and I just had to work the button band and the button holes. So this is a top down raglan v-neck cardigan. It is it has also got the 2x2 button bands on here, and the 2x2 ribbed cuffs, as you can see, and the 2x2 rib hem. And I just picked up the buttons, and they match really nicely. In fact, I might have one here. Okay, so these are 22mm buttons, and here's what the button looks like. Matched perfectly. And the yarn that I used for that sweater is the Premier Anti-Pilling Bamboo Chunky. It says it's like new, wash after wash. It was 80% anti-pilling acrylic, 20% rayon from bamboo. It is a number 5 bulky, and there was 131 yards and 120 millimeters. Sorry, 120 meters, not millimeters. So that was 100-gram balls, and this is the ball band. And it was in the color Blueberry Pie. So this is one of my new designs that I'm working on writing the pattern up for right now. And so once it's test knitted, the pattern should be out in the new year in 2024. I'll have to let you know when that happens. So the next thing I want to talk about are some finished objects. Okay, so like I said, I was supposed to podcast last week and I just was not in the mood for doing it. So I wasn't even in the mood for knitting, actually. And so, not in the mood for knitting, I should say, not to make new garments or new designs and work on some things that took brain power. I just wanted to sit and knit and be creative and forget about everything. I just wanted to grab some yarn and just sit and knit and have fun with the yarn and color and just be creative. Sometimes you just have to do that, just to let go and just have fun and not be so serious about it all the time. So anyway, so that's what I did. I just thought I'm just going to grab some yarn and sit and see what comes up. And I've got 3 finished objects here that I did, and I thought they were quite cute. So the first one I'm going to show you, and I'm just going to call these Pocket Pals because I think they're small enough to put in a pocket, but big enough to play with for kids. And they actually can be made into any animal or person or imaginary friend, whichever you want to make them into. And for the first one that I did, I just used some gray yarn and red and green and white, and I made them all Christmas colors just because to get in the Christmas spirit. But you can do these however you want, and I don't have a pattern right now, but if you think this is something that you would want to make, you can leave it in the comments below and I'll work on it and put a pattern out next year for one of these. Sort of like a template kind of thing, and a recipe that you could make and be creative and make your own things. So anyways, this is my first one. This is a little rabbit, and you've probably seen them before elsewhere. I just think they're the cutest little things. They're fun to make, and you can do so much with them. Now this one is just some gray wool, and it's actually wool. It was sort of like Newton type of yarn, Icelandic type yarn that was unspun that I used for the gray parts. And this was just some red yarn that I used, and I think it was all worsted weight. I think worsted weight is a good weight to use on these, and use a number 5mm needle. And so basically I just cast on some stitches on the base, so it's worked bottom up. And you know, there's 3 ways you can do that. You can knit these in the flat, you can knit them in the round. This is all seamless, and I just knit so far, and then I change colors, and I knit the little red sweater and did a few decreases at the top to bring it in a little bit, and then I went into the gray for the head and then decreased off the top for the head to give it some shape. And then I picked up stitches off the head for the ears, and I just did them in garter stitch. Everything else is, well, the body's done in stockinette stitch. And then I did a little scarf separately and to tie on around the neck. And then I just did some French knots for the eyes and a little satin stitch for the nose and a little embroidery stitch on the front for the snowflake. So to give it some definition, I just did some stitching, back stitching between the legs. But first of all, I stuffed it with some polyester stuffing. You can stuff it with whatever you like, some roving, some fiberfill of some kind. So you before you decrease completely off for the head, you put some stuffing in it, of course, and then you just stitch through the stuffing and the layers so that you can get some definition here for the legs. And I did that for these little arms down the sides to give it some definition there. And that's about it. So it's quite easy to do, and it just uses up your stash, and you've got some little toys for your grandchildren that you can give them at Christmas. So that's my little bunny. And then I started getting creative again. And I have 3 granddaughters, and I have 1 grandson. So I thought I would make some of these little toys. This is the first of the one for the girls, and this is a little girl. So this time around, I thought I'd put some black to make it look like boots or shoes, and the pants, and then a little sweater that has a heart on it, and then the little face, and the little hat, and a little pom-pom. And then I just did some little braids for the hair and put some little ribbons in them, so they're 3-dimensional, which is cute. And a little duplicate heart on the sweater. And again, the little arms are there, as you can see, the stitching there, and the back. So I have a little girl. Same thing. Little for the eyes, I just did the French knots, and for the cheeks, I just took some blush from my own makeup and just rubbed some little blush on the cheeks to give it some cuteness. So that's the little girl. The other one that I did, this was a little bit more work, but it's all easy the same, and just a little bit different. I did a little knitting gnome. So this little gnome's knitting, so there's this little ball of yarn here that I have to kind of glue to the edge of them, I guess, to keep it from falling apart. And I didn't have any toothpicks, so I used matches for the little knitting needles, but there's some little knitting there. And he's got little arms that I just picked up. Again, this is worked from the bottom up, so there's a little bottom to it, flat bottom. And I worked from the bottom up, and I picked up stitches off the body to do the little arms and the little red mittens. And then I stuffed it, but I also put a little Ziploc bag of I put split peas, but you could use rice or beads or sand or stones or gravel or budgie gravel. I've used to put in the bottom to give it a little bit of weight, so when it sits on the shelf, it's not going to fall over. So in the bottom, there's a piece of cardboard, and then the bag of split peas and stuffing. And then I did the hat, and I put a bit of stuffing in it as well. I think I put a little too much in there. I should put a little less next time. And I just used some chunky weight yarn, and I split the plies so it was a bit wavy looking, and I just added the hair on there like that. And I used a little pom-pom there for the nose. Did I? No, I didn't. Not on this one. Sorry. I did a little satin stitch. No, I did a little bauble. That's what I did. A crocheted bauble for the nose. I've done the crocheted bauble, I've done satin stitch, and I've used these little pom-poms that I picked up for the noses. You can use beads, you can use whatever you want for their nose. And so I just put the hair like that, and the little knitting, and you can see his little red mitts are under there, and the knitting. So that's a knitting gnome. That was fun to do. Anyways, so those are the things that I finished that week. I just wasn't feeling up to doing anything else. So if you're interested in anything like that, or think you might be interested in a pattern, let me know, and maybe I'll write one up and put that out there. So, okay, so now we're going to go into the works in progress. So my first one up is, I'm not sure if I showed this last time on the podcast or not, but one of my customers and friend who has been with me since I opened my store, Peterborough Yarn Shop, in 2011, and she has been a great customer great friend, taking all my classes, and just a wonderful lady. Well, she passed away this past fall, and we miss her dearly. And her sister gave me a bag of her yarn and some projects she was working on that she didn't finish. So anyways, I might find a picture of Dorothy and put it in here, just so you can see the pink sweater that she was wearing. I was teaching the sweater that I'm wearing right now is called My Sweater, and it was the last class that she took from me when we were working on these sweaters in class. And she did one in the raspberry color, and she looked so nice wearing it. And so her sister gave me the leftover yarn from doing that sweater, and I wanted to make something special with that yarn to remind me of her. And so I have done another Knitovative top. So the color, I'll show you the band here, because it's the same band that I showed you from this sweater when I showed you what I was wearing. So it is the Hayfield Aran Tweed. I'll show you that again. Hayfield Aran Tweed yarn. But hers was in the color Raspberry, which is beautiful color. It's a nice pink and all the little tweedy bits on it. So there's like teal and blue and yellow and all different colors of tweed bits on the yarn, as you can see there. So there was only about 256 grams of yarn in the ball that was left. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? I want something to wear that will just feel like a hug when I'm wearing it from Dorothy. Anyways, I didn't want a hat. I didn't want a cowl or anything like that. I just wanted one thing. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a Knitovative top with it. I have a few of them already that I've made, and I love it. It's my newest pattern that I just put out, and I've talked about it before on my first podcast and second podcast. So now I'm talking about it on my third podcast. But anyways, this one I did a little bit different. So I'm just going to hold it up and show it to you. So this one here has a lace diamond motif on it, as you can see there. I just thought it would look pretty to add something to the plain. I thought it would be nice to add something to the plain yarn, even though it's tweedy. My motto has always been, if you have fancy yarn, knit plain. If you have plain yarn, knit fancy. So that just means plain yarns, you can do all the lace work, all the texture work, cables, you know, all those things to it. So I thought, I'm just going to add something to it. So here, and I also did a larger neckline in this, so it just widens up the hole and it looks pretty on with the lace work. So that's what I did with this one. And then when I cast off the stitches for the armholes and then had to cast on the stitches for the armholes, I cast off less stitches. So it tapered in at the side so it wasn't so wide and boxy. And so I have less stitches, as you can see there. There's a bit less than what's here, casted off here. So I'm just going straight down on the body right now. It's still on the needles, and I'm just starting the ribbing now. So I just have this much yarn left, and it should be enough to do all the ribbing. And I'm just doing a broken rib on the bottom, which is basically row 1 of the broken rib would be a knit 1, purl 1. And then row 2 would be a knit row. And it just breaks it up and it looks a little fancier and it's a lot nicer than just straight knit 1, purl 1 or knit 2, purl 2. So that is what I'm working on at the moment to finish up. So again, that's the Knitovative pattern. It's on Ravelry, and you will see different variations of it there. And also it's done in a dress form as well, because this can be made into a dress. You can make it as long as you want. It can be a top, it can be a tunic, it can be cropped, it can be a dress, whatever you like it to be, in any yarn, any size, for anybody. So that is that. That's my first one. Okay, so my other works in progress whips that I have on the needles, I'm just doing, not sure if these are going to be for myself or for gift knits for Christmas or next year for Christmas, whenever. Sometimes I like just making things and putting them in a gift basket or a closet, and I have things so I just can give them out whenever I want to people. It doesn't have to be a special occasion. Just, you know, somebody needs something or wants something or likes what you've made, you can just give it to them. So anyways, this might be for me or might be for somebody else. But anyways, I'm just doing a basic beanie. And it's just, I've showed it on my podcast before. It's just a very basic hat that's done in a 2x2 rib. And it's done in the round from the bottom up. And this is just done in 100% sort of a lavender color yarn. So it's really pretty. Pure wool. And I'm not sure what brand it is because there was no label on it. It's just stuff I've had in my stash for so long that I'm trying to use up. So anyways, this is just worked in the round in a 2x2 rib until you, for the length you want, which the beanie can be just worn at the bottom of your ears, or you can make it long enough to fold up the brim and have a nice wide brim, so it gives you extra warmth and layers around your ears. And then it's decreased off at the top, a special way to make it star shaped at the top, which is a real nice finish. And so now with this one, I did the German twisted cast on with this one. Usually I do long tail cast on, provisional cast on, cable cast on, alternating cable cast on. There's so many different cast on, but usually you just pick the one that's appropriate for the project that you're doing. You can also do tubular cast on, Italian cast on. There's so many of them. It's just whatever you want. So this one was the German twisted cast on, as you can see there. So I've also started another one. After I finished the little rabbit and the girl and the gnome, I just thought I'd cast on a bunch of projects. So I did cast on another one. Now this one, I do have the label for it. This one is done in the Woodlands Mary Maxim yarn. It's an alpaca blend, and it's in the color Stardust. So there's the label, and the color is Stardust, which is again German twisted cast on, and it's a really nice, very, very, very soft yarn, and you can see the halo on it there. It's so soft. I almost thought I should have made a cowl out of this instead of a hat, because there's enough here for a cowl, and it's so soft. It's almost too soft for a hat for structure. But I've already got it started, so it's going to stay a hat. And I've got that just about as much done on that one as the other one. So these are what I call TV knitting, going in the car, when you're traveling and you're the passenger, you can just take your knitting along or sit in front of the TV, or if you're talking to a friend, visiting, these are the kind of projects you want to take with you. So there's that. The other one is, now this is here is just a dishcloth. So I've got a dishcloth going here, and this is just a simple garter stitch dishcloth done in some handicrafter cotton. And there's the ball of yarn there. And to me, it looks like Neapolitan ice cream. It's like brown, pink, and white, like the same colors. So this is just your simple garter stitch dishcloth. Those are nice to give out at Christmas time too, with a bar of soap or whatever. Okay, so the other one I have, actually this is a finished pair and a pair that I've started. And this is called Christina's Gloves. So this is a pattern on Ravelry. And I'm just trying to think when I designed this was many years ago. So let me see if it has a date. I don't even have a date on it. Oh, wait, I do. 2010. So this was designed in 2010, and it's a very popular pattern. I'll show you what the pair looks like. Now, the ones that I designed on that pattern were done in alpaca. They were done in 90% alpaca, 10% bamboo, and a 3-ply sport weight yarn, and using a 4mm needle, and used 24 grams of yarn and 75 yards. So it doesn't take very much yarn to make these. These are great stash busters, great Christmas gifts, quick and easy to do. I love making these. Once you've made a pair, you don't even have to look at the pattern anymore. You can just make them. So I'll show you what they look like here. Now, I have those pairs somewhere in my cedar box somewhere. I didn't dig them out because I found another pair that I made here. And these ones here were done in the pure Gint yarn, made in Norway. And so this is the label here. I'll show you the yarn label first. So into the pure Gint, you can see the label. And there's no actual color listed here, but it is 100% wool yarn, using a 4mm needle. I just want to say the color is just like a natural ecru color. So here's what they look like. They have a really pretty little cable eyelet design on them, on the cuff, and also on the top of the thumb area and the top of the glove. You can see it there. You don't need a cable needle with these. You can just do them. They're very simple to do. I call it a cheater's cable eyelet. They are very quick and easy to do. So I have both of them here. So they're both done the same way, so they fit right or left-handed. There's some things that I designed where they are right and left-handed. So just going to show you what they look like on the hand there. You see that? They fit really nicely. I really like them. They're pretty, they're fancy, and they fit really nice. So those are the finished ones. And I started another pair. Now, the ones that I've started here, I've just used the Patton's True North DK yarn, which is 50% wool, 50% acrylic. So there's the label there. And the color is just 5941. And here is the ball of yarn. That's the color there. It's sort of a rosy pink color. And I've just got the cuff started there. Cuff finished, ready to start into the body of the glove. You can see it stretched out there, what it looks like. There you go. So, if that is something that you would like to make, you can go to Ravelry and find that pattern there. It's called Christina's Gloves. All right. Okay, so those were my works in progress. So let me know in the comments below what pattern you would like to win this podcast. So it's the Knitovative, Basic Beanie, Christina's Gloves. So those are the 3 patterns this time around. And whichever one you like, leave in the comments below. And if you have any questions, leave them there as well. And so now we're going to get into the tools of the trade. So what I would like you to do is take out a piece of paper and a pen. And as I show you the tools of the trade, make a list of the things that you don't have, and so that they can be put on your Christmas wish list. So if someone says, what would you like for Christmas? You can give them the list and they can pick some things from that, and maybe you'll get some for Christmas. And these are in no particular order. I'm just going to show you the things that I've collected over my time of knitting. And I have been knitting since I've been 10 years old. So these are things that I've collected over the years. And, you know, you don't just go out and buy everything at one time. You do collect things as you need them. And then by the time you're my age, you'll have everything that you need and want. But if you can go out and get them, that's great. Nowadays, the technology has come a long way, so they're always inventing new things. Some of the things that I have might look antique to you, but some of the things that come out today, you can replace them later on and, you know, donate your other things that you have to somebody that doesn't have something. And I actually have a knit box on my front lawn. You know, those little library boxes that people have on their front lawns, and you can take a book. Well, I have a knitting box on my front lawn, and so I will put yarn in there, needles in there, pattern books in there, even finished items, mittens and hats and different things for people to take. And people have put things in there as well to donate. And so there's always something going on in the box. But they get taken quite quickly too, so it looks like it's always empty, but I do put things in it, and other people do as well. So I'll try to put a picture in here of the box that I'm talking about so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so sorry about that. My camera was full, So I had to delete some things to make enough room to finish this podcast. So anyways, we'll start where we left off. I was talking about plastic sleeves, I believe. So I was saying that it's a good idea to put your patterns in these plastic sleeves. I purchased them by the hundreds, and I keep all my patterns in these plastic sleeves to keep them clean, neat, and tidy and organized. And I put them in a binder so that I can categorize them and they're easy to find and use. But what I also like is that when I'm working on a pattern, if you're trying to keep your place, or instead of writing things out and writing things down, I use a piece of painter's tape. So this is a roll of painter's tape that you can purchase at the hardware store, and I like to use that, a little piece of it, and just underline on my pattern where I am so I don't miss my place and spot where I'm knitting from. It's easy to see what you're doing, and then you can just rip it off the plastic because it doesn't leave any residue or anything. It doesn't mark up your patterns. Then you can just move it down on the next row. So it's quite easy to do that, and I like to do that. The other thing that you can use is a magnetic board. So this is a magnetic board, and it comes with a couple strips of magnets so that you can, again, underline where you are on your pattern so that it keeps your place. It also comes with a magnetic count guide. So on here there's 7 stitches per inch, 11, 14, 18, 22, sorry, not stitches per inch, wraps per inch, I should say. And there's also a ruler. So you get all those with your magnetic board, and they also are great for putting your pattern on and keeping your spot while you're working on your pattern. You can put it in your project bag and take it along with you. I just find that I like the painter's tape even better because it's stuck on there. It's not going to come off. The magnets could move down a little bit. They are very sturdy and on there pretty good. It would take a lot to push them down or pull them off, but it's whatever you want. I'm sure there's other methods out there now as well. So anyways, just so that takes care of that. The next thing to talk about is yarn. You need some good quality yarn. You're going to think about what you're going to make, the project that you're going to make, and you're going to use the appropriate kind of yarn for that project. For example, you're not going to use Fentex yarn for a cowl when it's meant for slippers. And, there's yarns out there for different things, and you just got to think about what it is you're going to make and what yarn is appropriate. Like if you're making a cowl, you want something very soft around your neck because it's the most sensitive area on your body, and you don't want something itchy and picky around your neck. So thinking about the appropriate yarn, and also thinking about yarn if you're making something for someone else. For that person, they could be sensitive to yarns, they could have allergies to yarns. So I was allergic to acrylic at one point, and I broke out in hives all over my body, and it was just some acrylic sweater that I had on, and it really bothered me. And so I wear long sleeve cotton tops when I wear anything on my skin, just because it just saves from getting hives or getting itchy or rashes or whatever. So it depends on your sensitivities and allergies. So you want to pick something that's appropriate. The other thing is convenience. If the yarn is machine washable and dryable, or it's hand washed, you need to pick something suitable for the person that you're making the item for. They might not have time to hand wash it or not care to hand wash it. So you might need to buy superwash wool instead of wool, or you know, a blend or acrylic or something that can be washed to make it easier for them, especially if they're having babies. You want something that's machine washable and dryable because they don't have time to deal with it. So think about the convenience, and then quantity. You want to make sure you buy enough for the project so you're not playing yarn chicken. You want to make sure you have enough yardage and grams to do the whole project and not just part of it and then have to come up with some plan to finish it. Also the quality. Just buy what you can afford. You know, everybody's budget's different. I'm not, being a retail yarn shop owner, I have had to carry all kinds of yarns, not just the high end or the low end, but everything in between. And, you know, I appreciate everybody who comes into my store and buys yarn. I don't worry about it. It's whatever you like, whatever you want to use, as long as you're enjoying your hobby and it brings you joy. That's the main thing. So anyways, the next thing is you need a good light. You want to be able to see what you're doing when you're working on dark colored yarns. And as the seasons change, especially now with winter, it gets darker earlier and it's never really bright during the day because the sun's not out half the time. So you need a good light over your shoulder, maybe around your neck. They have those neck lamps that go around your neck and point down onto your knitting, and they're great as well. So just keep in mind you want good lighting because your eyes are very important, and you want to take care of them, and you want to see what you're doing. So I would suggest saving the dark yarns to work on in the summertime when you're outside and you have the daylight, and working on lighter colored yarns in the wintertime. So good lighting. Next is a ball winder. There's all different types of ball winders, but the ball winder that I have is the Knit Picks ball winder here. And I think this is my second one in all these years, so that's pretty good that I've gone through. I'm still on my second one, but there are different ones. There's Knitter's Pride, there's the Lakey, however you want to say that word. All different kinds of ball winders. There's even electric ones now, so people that have a business, a hand dyeing business, they're probably into using those to help with their business and make things more efficient and faster for them. But one of these is probably your cheapest one on the market, is the Knit Picks one, and it works great. I've never had any problems with it. So you know, this is to wind up your balls of yarn so that you can find out where the knots are or damaged yarns, or you just want to make it into a cake, so that it has a center pull to it, so that it's easy to put in your bag, put in your yarn bowl, your basket, or set on a table so it's easier to knit from. But also if you have skeins of yarns, then you're going to need to wind up those skeins from your yarn swift, which is the next thing I'm going to show you, is your yarn swift to the ball winder. So I'll just show you that now while I'm, oops, sorry, hit the camera. So this is the yarn swift, and I did show this to you in my last podcast. So I'm not demonstrating how these things work, but maybe one day I will. But this is a yarn swift, and this is what you need to put skeins of yarns on. It opens up like an umbrella, so that you can put your skeins of yarns on. So this is how it opens up, and then there's a clamp that goes up and tightens so it stays in place, and there's also a spot here where it clamps to your table. So between these two things, you put your skein on here, and it winds to the ball winder into a cake. So that's for skeins, but for balls, you can just use the ball winder to wind up your balls into cakes, but you can also make your own cakes and using leftover yarns, and have fun designing your own yarn cakes. So I like to do that sometimes. So anyway, so that's your, so Knit Picks, Knitter's Pride, those are ones that you can purchase as well. All right, needles. Now I did talk about needles in my very first podcast extensively, so I won't go into that either. I use the Addi-Click interchangeable needles, which I've mentioned before, and I've showed you all about them and talked all about them. So I would go back to episode 1 to see all that. I have the short lace set and I have the long lace set. So between these two sets of needles, I have everything I need to do everything that I want to knit. So from small items to big items and everything in between, these two interchangeable needle sets will do everything that I need, and I'm pretty happy with them. And if you want to see how they work and all about them, go to episode 1. So you need a good set of needles. Okay, so I would suggest that you have 3 project bags on the go. When I'm teaching my classes and I'm teaching a beginner class, I always tell them that it's good to have 3 projects on the go at one time. One harder project, I'd like to call it an advanced project, and a second one that's sort of intermediate, and one that's beginner friendly. And have them all in different project bags so that when you get up in the morning, when you're most alert and, you know, have the most energy and brain power, I would work on the one that's the harder project, the more advanced project, so that, you know, you're more awake and you just are more with it, that you can focus on that project and the challenges that it brings. And so I would suggest working on that one in the morning. And then as the day progresses, you get a little bit more tired and maybe worn out a little bit and from doing all your chores or whatever. So the intermediate project is great to work on next because it's not as hard as the first one, but it's still got something going on in it to keep your interest. And so you're enjoying your knitting. And then as the day progresses and comes the end of the night and you're tired and you're watching TV, but you still want to knit, that's the time when you want that mindless project. I call a beginner project. Something that's mindless that you can just pick up and watch TV and knit at the same time. And so if you have some different project bags, whether they're little project bags like this with some pockets in it and drawstrings, or bigger project bags, sort of like, this type here that's canvas and it's got pockets all in the front and you can put more in it. You know, I would say 3 project bags are great, whether they have zippers, drawstrings, handles, pockets, just something that you can put 3 different projects in so that when you get up, you know which bag to grab and that. And even if you were going on a long drive or you're going to visit a friend, you'll know which project to take for the circumstances that you're in for that day. And it just makes it easier, and then you feel like you're getting more knitting time in. Also, if you make a mistake on one and you can't fix it, you have another one to work on. And if you make a mistake on it, you have another one to work on. So, you know, sometimes we put our projects in timeout because we're trying to think of something to do on it, or we're not quite sure. Maybe we want to change something on it, or maybe we got to frog it or take it out. And so we always have another project on the go, so we're not left. I think the worst feeling is when your needles are all clean, you have nothing on the needles. It's exciting because you can think of a new project to start, but when you haven't had the time to do that and you have nothing and you go a day or 2 or a few days without knitting, it kind of bothers you after a while. So I think it's important to be prepared with 3 projects, and that should be sufficient. And if you have more than that, that's great. And but at least 3 will keep you going throughout the day. So that's my suggestion there on the project bags. Now, I think a knitting journal is important to have, to keep a record, sort of like a diary of all your projects that you're working on. So you can write down the name of the project, the designer, the materials you use, the yarn, the needle sizes, any modifications you made, just everything about it, plus a photo. Maybe you're attached a piece of yarn or the yarn label into the project, the journal. And it just is nice to look back to see all the things that you've made over the years and who you gave them to or what you did with them, and just to see your accomplishments and to celebrate that. So I have this knitting journal here, but there's so many different knitting journals that you can use. And this one has a place in here where you can just put all the information, like I just said, when you started it, when you finished it. There's some graph paper there, so if you want to sketch out your own design on there, you can. But you know, it's nice to just keep that and to look through. So a knitting journal. Okay. Now, I have here a digital scale. They call them kitchen scales. This little digital scale is very small, and it fits in your project bag if you need to take it with you. It's digital, so I can just press on the button here, and you can see it says hello on it. And when that goes off, it goes to 0, and you can see there the grams. It goes in, it has all the different weights, different types of weights on here. And these little scales are perfect for weighing up your yarn before you start your project and weighing your yarn after you finish your project, so that you can see how much yarn it took to make the project, so you can keep track of that as well, and the yardage and all the things that you used for your project. I like to use these too for weighing up all my little bits. If I want to make a project, you can, you know how people are using advent calendars right now, and they're using 10-gram minis and 20-gram minis. Well, you can make your own little minis, and you can just use any leftover yarns and wind them up and weigh them and make your own advent calendars, or, you know, swap with a friend and use your leftovers up that way. I find I like to make cakes with them with my ball winder and wind, you know, get a ball of yarn, and, you know, depending on how many cakes that I need to make a sweater, maybe you're doing a scrappy sweater, and say you need 400 grams. So you can take a ball of yarn and split it in 4, and that can start the center of the cake, and then add to it and add to it and add as many colors as you want to it. And that's kind of fun too. And then you can just use the Russian join to join the ends together, and you have one continuous yarn ball that can be made into something. So anyways, I find the scale very handy when it comes to planning projects. Okay, next is a gauge tool. There are so many gauge tools out there. This is just a gauge tool that I have, that I've had for years. I have other ones that I use too, but I just grabbed this one to show you. You can see on here all the different holes. Those are for measuring your needles, what size they are, also crochet hooks. On it is the Canadian sizing and the American sizing, and then on the back, so we have Canadian sizing and American sizing on this side, and we have the American metric size on that side. So that's what you want to see. because some of the patterns are written one way or the other, and when you read that, sorry, excuse me, you can record, or you can see which needle size they use, and look at it as the equivalent to the size that you're used to using. So I'm used to using metric. So when someone puts out a pattern, say in Canadian or American, then I can just look up what that is. Or if a customer comes into the shop and they have a different pattern, I can tell them the alternative to the pattern, and works out great. So a gauge tool. Okay. It's also great, sorry, it's also great for your gauge swatching too. So when you want to do a gauge swatch and you want to do it over 4 inches, 4 by 4, you have the ruler that's on the gauge tool to measure your swatches as well. So next is stitch markers. So there's different types of stitch markers too, and I'll just show you my favorites to use. I like to use the Clover stitch markers. I find the quality of their little safety pin, I call them these little safety pin guys. I hope you can see that. They're sort of made out of a rubbery type of plastic, so they're not breaking like those cheaper versions of them. And I like the removable ones for on my, okay, let's see here. I left these ones in to show you here on this cardigan sweater. These were put here to show where I increased all along the V-neck of this cardigan. So every time I increased, I put one of these stitch markers. And so that's easy to count how many increases that you've done. And I do it too when I'm pattern writing. So it is very helpful. I also like the ones that are so those are the removable. Then there's the stationary ones, which are just your little O-rings that are sort of wafer thin. You don't want anything too thick because then it leaves a space between your stitches and you want to keep them as tight as possible. So these little O-rings are great, and they come in different sizes depending on your needle size. So you'd use the proper size according to your needles. The other kind is these light bulb markers, stitch markers. This one might be hard to see, but anyways, right there is a light bulb stitch marker. It looks like the shape of a light bulb, but it is a removable one as well. It looks like a safety pin on the other end, but there is no coil, so they don't get, stuck in your yarn. And they're very thin, so they don't take up space between your stitches. And these can be stationary or removable as well. So I would use these before I would use the Clover ones that are removable, because these ones are a little bit thicker and would take up some space. So those are the stitch markers, and those are the Clover ones, which I like, and the light bulb ones. So the next is the tapestry needles. I really like the gold bent tip tapestry needles. Again, I think, not sure if Clover puts those out or not, but they are the best for me. I use this one for everything. Easy to thread. The point and blunt end of the tip of the needle gets into all the stitches nicely when you're weaving in your ends. And I also have these ones which are bent tip as well. There's a long one and a shorter one, and they are also bent tip on the ends. And they are for the finer, like lace weight, sock weight yarns. You would use these ones for weaving in your ends. And then you need a good pair of scissors whether it's a pair of stork scissors. I have these little red ones here that I use all the time. I think they're very cute, and they're small and they're very sharp, and I just use them for cutting the yarn and nothing else. So you need some good scissors. Next, you need a measuring tape. Now, I use two different types of measuring tapes. I have this retractable one, so when you pull this out like this, there's a button here, which it just comes back in quickly, like that. It's retractable. And you want one that has all the, you know, measurements on both sides, inches and centimeters and that. So those are great and handy for measuring. I also like a good measuring tape like this that you have to, it doesn't have the retractable, so that you can get a good measurement when you're measuring your body measurements. So you can wrap it around your body and get a good measurement that way. So those are the two that I like to use for measuring tapes. Okay, we're going to get into the bigger items here. Just give me a second and I'll pick them up. They're blocking mats. So let me see here. Okay, so the blocking mats that you can use are Knitter's Pride. They have a nice set. They come in a canvas bag, and they're small little squares, and they are all gridded out in squares, so it's easy to lay out your project on and measure it and keep it in shape. I have purchased these blocking mats. These ones were from Canadian Tire. There's 4 to the set, and they are those floor mats that you can use for garages or basement floors or kids' toy rooms or whatever. But they are like a puzzle, as you can see. They all fit together, and you can see how that goes together. And they are huge. Like, I don't even think I can get them all. And I think they would be a 24 by 24 maybe. There's the width of one, and they're huge. But they have a bit of a grid on them so that I can keep things straight when I'm blocking out my project. So there is, like if you can see up close, there is a bit of a grid on them and a lot of holes from blocking things. So that's one set of blocking mats that I have, but I also have a small little set like this. And they're just little squares, and they just come in blue, red, green, and yellow. So there's just 4 of them as well. They don't have any squares on them, but they're great for, you know, just everything blocking. If these are great for small ones, small items and stuff. I like to use these if I get out and have to do something small. I will use the small ones. If I'm working on sweaters and shawls and things, I get out the bigger ones. So I have 2 sets of those. Someday I'll get the Knitter's Pride ones that are all marked out properly. But that's what I've had over the years. And this is all, again, before these other products were available. So I'm not too worried about it. But I might replace those someday. So the next thing is you need a wash basin, and the dollar stores are great for those. So this is my wash basin. It's a big one. You can see the sides on it. And it's just got some handles so you can pick it up. That's great. So I like to use that, and I also, now I forgot to bring the Eucalan wool wash up. I don't know, I think most of you know and use Eucalan wool wash, but the Eucalan wool wash is what I use to wash all my woolens, and it's a soap, but it's a no rinse soap. So just to explain that a little bit, when you shear a sheep, it has lanolin in the sheep on the wool, and you have to wash it and rinse it and card it and do all those things to be able to make it into wool. So there's a lot of lanolin, and that's what keeps the wool soft and supple and keeps moisture into the wool. So when you're using detergents like Tide and other soaps, they actually strip the wool from all the lanolin, and it dries out the wool, and it actually dries it out to the point it becomes brittle. And when you're wearing wool sweaters, people say, oh, I don't like wool sweaters because they're itchy and picky. It's because the wool is dried out. So you need to put the moisture back into your garments, and the lanolin that is in the Eucalan wool wash does that. So by not rinsing it out, it keeps the lanolin into the wool and moistens the wool and puts it and gives it life again, basically. There's also eucalyptus into the Eucalan wool wash, so that helps to prevent moths from eating the wool or eating your garments. So between the lanolin and the eucalyptus, it's a really good combination, and you should be using that all the time. And your sweaters will last for years if you do that. You're taking care of them, and you're preventing moths, and putting the moisture back in that's been stripped away. And so I would highly suggest Eucalan wool wash. I do sell that. So if you can't find it somewhere, please let me know and send me an email, and I'd be happy to ship you some. So Eucalan wool wash you need along with your basin. And now I have these little mesh bags here. So this is a little mesh bag, and it has a zipper on it right here. And you can put your items in the bag. Now you can buy smaller ones, you can buy even larger ones. So if it's a big sweater that you're washing, make sure you have a large one. So you can use those if you're doing machine knitting or machine knitting. You can tell I'm getting tired. I've been talking for a while now. If you're washing your garments in the washing machine and you're afraid that they're going to stretch out of shape or get pills on them from other things that you're washing or whatever, or felted, you can use the mesh bags, and that really helps a lot as well. So I also use these ShamWow cloths. A ShamWow cloth, as you know, absorbs water. So instead of wetting all your towels, you can use this ShamWow cloth because it absorbs a lot of moisture. Then you just can wring this out and reuse it, and it'll absorb more moisture. So they really work great. So I've been using that for a long time. So ShamWow cloths, mesh bags, laundry basin, Eucalan wool wash, and you're pretty much safe at that point to be able to look after your garments. I thought I had something else here to show, but I don't see it here now. Oh, it's behind my back. Okay, so I also have this. This here, I don't use this very often, but this here mesh has suction cups to it. So this will suction cup to your bathtub. So you can lay out your item on this mesh and suction cup it to your bathtub. And what that does is just allows airflow to go around the mesh so that you can dry your garment quicker and keep it off the wet towel or the mats or whatever. So that's a faster way of drying things as well. What I've been doing lately is I got a new washing machine, and it doesn't have the agitator in the center of it. So it's just one big drum. It's like commercial size. And I've been taking my garments, and after they've soaked in the Eucalyptus wool wash and that, I've just taken the tub, my basin, down to the washing machine and dumped the whole thing into the washing machine, and then put it on just a spin cycle only. So that just gets the water out quicker and less drying time, like the same day drying or the next day for sure. And it's been really helpful as well. So it depends on what kind of washing machine you have, if you would want to feel comfortable doing that or not. But that's what I've done on a few things, but mostly I've done things the old-fashioned way with the ShamWow cloth or towels, and laid them out flat to dry, and I've done that. So anyways, the next thing is, if you can use a steamer. So I have this steamer here. This is a brand new one that I just got, and you just plug it in and you add water into here, and it has different attachments on the front here. These pull off. This here is the actual steamer. This is sort of a mesh on here, but there's also a brush one. There's different attachments that go on the end. It depends on what you're steaming, whether it's you're steaming your dress shirt, your dress pants, or your knitwear. And you can just use this to help steam out if you want to do a quick steam block to see how things are working out as you're knitting before you do a wet block. You can do that as well. Okay, the other thing is I have a gleaner here. Now, a gleaner is to keep your hand knits looking like new after you've worn them for many times. And so that is living in this gleaner bag here. I also sell these as well. I'll just show you what it looks like and how it works. Okay, so these here gleaners are ergonomically, have ergonomic handles on them, and you can see how it's easy to hold. The one end here is a lint remover on here. It's got a soft brush on it. You can see the word gleaner on that side. And this end here is for the attachments. So in this bag here, there are 3 attachments, and I'll show them to you. This one attachment here is white, and it's for cleaning things that maybe are smooth fabric. They don't have too many pills, and it just takes them off nicely without too much stress. This one is the solid black one, which maybe if you have something that has a little bit more pills and you need a little bit more, you know, how's the word looking for? You need to, you know, take them off, and they're a little harder to get off, so you would use this one to help with that. Now this one here is sort of got a mesh on it. Now this is the one that you use if the pills are big and hard to get off and you need a little bit more pull on it. They really stick to there and come off easily. So all you have to do is put one of these, they just snap on the back like that. And then you're just gonna pull it down on your sweater. I find it's easier to do the depilling when you're wearing the garment because you can just, when it's on your body, it's easier to do. Otherwise, lay it on a table or something so that you can get enough pull on it to remove the pills. And there's a little black button on here, so you're just pushing the button and the tool comes off the end, the little tool. And then when the pills form on here, you just pull them off like that and throw them away. But these other ones they all just snap on and off the end of there. This one's really good. And they also have travel size one. So if you're going away and you want to take one with you, they have a smaller one, a version of that. They're very good. Great gift idea this time of year for Christmas. It's not just for knitters, it's for everybody. The other thing that I have that I used for many, many years before I got my cleaner was a sweater stone. Now, this is the little box that it comes in, and it's actually a real stone. Now let me show you. I think this one is my oldest one, and it had a cardboard attached to it, but because I've used it so much now, it has come off the cardboard, so it just looks like this now. It almost looks like a lava rock out of your barbecue. I've always thought that's what it looked like. It has a smell to it too. When you're using it, it's stinky. I don't know. It's really a different I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But it's porous and it's really grabby. And so when you bring that down on your sweater, it really takes the pills off. I would say this works really good. I'm glad I have them. I'd still have one of these. I've got a couple of them actually. I use them all the time and they're great. So whether you use this or a cleaner, you're not going to hurt your garment because there's no batteries or razor blades like those other ones that are out there. I would not suggest one of those. I had one of those and I snipped my sweater and put a hole in it. So I refuse to use those. But the cleaner or sweater stones are great for depilling your garments. Okay, what's next? Sock blockers, mitten and glove blockers, and hat blockers. Okay, so this is what I have, what I use for blocking my hats. So I have a styrofoam head. You can get them anywhere. Value Village at Halloween has all kinds of them. They're great for just wet blocking your hats on here till they're dry. So a styrofoam head is great. If you don't have a styrofoam head, you can always blow up a balloon. And I've seen people do that as well. Just blow up a balloon, put it on there, and it works great. Sorry that I'm bending over because I've got so much stuff here. Okay, so I have these wooden sock blockers. They are great. They have little cutout sheets up here and these sections cut out so that the air can flow through your socks. Sorry, there's a phone call. Sorry, there was a phone call coming through. So anyways, I'll just call them later. Anyways, did it stop? No, it's still going. Okay, so these are your sock blockers, and these ones are wooden, and they work great. And basically you need sock blockers when you're doing lace work on socks or anything like that, just to open up the stitches to present them better, and they fit better too. So those are great sock blockers. And I also have little tiny ones. So if you're doing kids socks, baby socks, I have little sock blockers there as well. And I also have mitten blockers, and I have showed these before, I think, in one of my other podcasts. So they have snowflakes cut out of these ones, and these are solid wood as well. And these ones here are mitt and glove blockers. So they have. The next thing is pom-pom makers. So Clover has some great pom-pom makers. This one here is their extra large. So that's really big. And they have all different sizes, small, medium, large, extra large, and they are great. I'm not going to demonstrate how to use one of those today, but there's also a cheaper version out there as well. And if you can see, sorry for the package, there's a small, medium, large, and extra large one in there as well. And that's what they look like. They're great. And then I have some that I've used over the years. I've got a couple sets of these, and these are what I always used before the Clover ones came out. And they're kind of old-fashioned now, but they still work, as well as cardboard would work. So anyways, they're these little discs that you can see, but the centers will pop out of them. So I can make, there's the 3 discs that come out. So you can make a small, medium, and large pom-pom with this set. And then they just snap all back in together into the ring. So, okay, so that just snaps all back into the ring like that. And you have 2 of them so that you can put them together. Just a second here. So you would take both the discs and you'd put them this way, so that you would be putting your needle through the hole and wrapping it around, and then you would cut between those rings. So that's the pom-pom maker. Now the other thing I have here is a fringe maker. Pom-poms are great because, you know, you want to put them on hats and do different things with them. And so this here is a fringe maker. So it looks like this. And this part comes off, and there's different measurements on here. So you've got like, you know, like a 1 inch, 2 inch, 3, 4, 5, and 6 inch lengths of yarn that you can make a fringe with. So you pick the size that you want, and this part goes on. So if you wanted it on a 3 inch just a second here. So if you wanted on a 3 inch fringe, then you're just wrapping your yarn around this section here, and then there's a place to cut your yarn through here when you're done. So they get to all be the same size. So it's just another tool. A piece of cardboard would work. You know, sometimes I've used a CD case where I've wrapped things around, whatever works for you, but this just makes it a little easier to have a fringe tool. Okay, now this is the last thing I wanted to show you. And again, this is not really necessary, but they're kind of nice to have if you needed one and wanted one. These are yarn bowls. This is a yarn bowl. This is my sheep yarn bowl. He's got a little tail on here, his 4 legs, and his head, and all the swirls that are on there. One of my customers does pottery, and she made this, and there's a hole there if you wanted to keep your yarn in stationary. and not to come out. But if you wanted to remove your yarn and take your project with you, then you would just use the slots here, and there's one on both sides. So yarn bowls are great when you have a ball of yarn that's just not rolled into a cake and it's just rolling all over the floor, and you need to keep it in place so it's not going all over the place. Yarn bowls are handy. I also have a yarn box. This here is my yarn box, which is really nice. This one's really, really heavy. It's got a shawl project in there right now. It holds a big project. The whole shawl is in here and the yarn. For this box, it's pretty heavy. I think it's made out of cherry wood, but it's nice too. So I use it as well. So anyways, so that is my tools of the trade segment. I hope that you learn something through all of this, and maybe you have some of these tools and maybe you don't. Maybe you've been enlightened to some of them here. Oh yeah, the last thing I want to show you is my bracelet that I wear all the time. This here is a company that, let me see, it's called bigbluemama.com, and this is the little box that it came in. And you can see it's a little puzzle box like that, and it opens up. What's it say inside? The world always seems brighter when you've just made something that wasn't there before. And that's just a little saying on the inside of the box. And that's the box there. And this bracelet that I'm wearing, it says on there it's a 15-inch. They come in 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And so mine with the black dot is a 15-inch. And you can see it here on my arm. And you just pull up on that and you have a 15-inch ruler. And it's all been made out of solid leather. Mine's getting warped now because of wearing it every single day. But you can see the measurements on there all the way across up to 15 inches. So when you're in a pinch and you need a measuring tape, you can just take off your bracelet and measure your knitting, which is handy, which I love it. And so I wear it all the time. So that's my bracelet. Okay, so that's all the tools. So hopefully you made a good Christmas wish list and that you can give to somebody and maybe get some of these items to help you out with your knitting. The last thing I want to say is the Purls of Wisdom. On my patterns, I put some Purls of Wisdom on each one. Each one is different. And I'm just going to read you the one off of one of the patterns that I talked about today. I won't say which one it was, but the Purls of Wisdom says, if we take care of our character, our reputation will take care of itself. I thought that was really great. It's so true. Anyways, that's basically all I have for you today. So I'd love to know what you're working on. If you could leave that in the comments below. I love reading them and I love to know what you're making. And I was hoping, like I said, to do another podcast before Christmas, but it's not going to happen. This one here is gone way longer than I expected it to. So I think when I wanted to do my podcast, I wanted to stick to 1 hour, and this one's probably 2. I can tell you right now it is. So I'd love to know what you're working on. Please leave it in the comments below. If you liked what you saw today, please like and subscribe and hit the bell. And I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Year's. We'll see you in January. Many blessings and happy knitting. Bye-bye for now.